Hey guys, Scott here with some quick summary and thoughts on the next mid-chapter patch that's going to be happening in DBD. Sorry, I just woke up, I'm very sleepy. So let's start off with a huge thing, which is Trapper buffs, additional buffs rather. So Trapper was buffed a long time ago. He was given an add-on rework, and for the most part, the changes were pretty cool. He got some really strong add-ons, but his base kit was still really pathetic. And it seems like they started to address that here. So you used to be able to only spawn between 4 and 6 traps on a map. It was random. That is a little known fact. The devs are actually right here. A lot of people didn't know that you didn't always get the maximum of 6 traps on the map. I don't know if it's scaled with map size or just luck, but yeah, sometimes you would get less traps. So now you always get 6 traps, which is great. And more importantly, in my opinion, now you always start with 2 traps by default, and you can have 2 traps by default. I think that is something they should have done a very, very, very long time ago, and I'm very happy to see them finally do it. They finally changed a 1 from a 2. It took thousands of hours of manpower, but by God, they did it. So that's a really objectively good change for Trapper. Seems like they also gave him some new interesting add-ons. This one's interesting. Bear Trap resets 2 seconds after Survivor escapes from it. So if the Survivor gets out, they might think they can loop the area again, but then the trap will be reset. So that's pretty interesting. And then Trapper Sack is really interesting. So now you start with 8 traps total, and you cannot pick bear traps up. So I'm assuming that combined with the Iridescent Stone, where the traps auto reset, you will be able to block off so many areas like permanently. That sounds actually really, really strong combination. So we'll see how that actually goes. But the downside is pretty big. Thing I'm most interested about, though, is the Spirit nerf, finally. Now, I've always said I want Spirit to be changed. I don't want her to just be straight up nerfed. I want her to be changed to be more fair. So to do that, you need to basically nerf and buffer at the same time. So I always said she should have like a kind of a directional or sound to her power, but then she should also have less cooldown on her power so she can enter into that more often and create more interaction between killer and survivor. It seems like they just went on purely the nerf aspect of it, which I'm not too upset about, but I would have preferred she got a buff along with it too to compensate for the fact that she's now being made weaker to be more fair. More fair. God, again, I just woke up. Sorry. So, yeah, I'm not entirely on board with just a straight nerf, but I mean, I kind of am. I'm. Everyone is so sick of Spirit just taking very little effort to play and getting a massive reward. So I still think this is a good change. I just would have preferred if they had some tiny little buff on top of it, but it seems like they actually kind of double nerfed her. So this is the change I wanted. I think this is a really good change. So if you're basically in her Terradius now, you will hear a directional phase sound to get just a kind of rough idea. I'm assuming it's going to be like that one time the PTB was bugged, where you could just have a general rough idea of where she was going, but you don't know exactly where she is. So you can basically understand I need to go left or right, maybe. But she's still moving significantly faster than you. She can still double back. So even if you hear her coming right around the pallet and you go left around the pallet, she can still double back, possibly faster than you can even react. This is something we're going to have to test in game to see exactly how big of a deal it is. But if it's like the PTB, it's not going to be as easy as you'd think to just be able to perfectly track where she is. So that's one of the things we're just going to have to see. Next, the Spirit's footsteps will now kick up dust while she's phasing. Keen survivors may be able to pinpoint where she is, but tall grass and other obstacles may make it difficult. This is kind of interesting. And this is sort of another thing that I suggested could be a good idea. Not both of them at the same time, mind you, but I think this is another thing that could be a good idea if you have like a rough visual indicator of where she is. However, in keeping the nature of the Spirit, I think that change is actually more harmful than the actual directional phasing sound in terms of how strong she is. With directional phasing, if it is like the PTB, I tested it a bunch. It's still not very easy to understand where she is. And outplaying her, you just get like a tiny bit more information, but it's still mostly entirely in her control. Having a visual indicator of where she is, though, that kind of removes a lot of the, ambiguity of where she is and makes it so, okay, there's dust being kicked up right there. She is right there. So that I am actually more concerned about than the one above. That might be a problem. Now, I'm guessing what this is actually for, and I'm hoping this is the case, is that when you are in an open area with nothing, there's no grass, you're just in a giant dead zone, that's when you'll be able to see it. Now, if you're in an area that's got grass or anything involved, you shouldn't be able to see this dust. I'm hoping that's the case, because if you have a direct visual indicator of where she is, yeah, she still moves way faster than you, and you can still outplay the survivor, but that's a lot more information. That we're going from no information to a ton of information. So I'm not sure how on board I am with that one. It's really going to depend how clear this dust is. If it's very vague and only works in dead zones, fine. But if you can see it in most loops and pinpoint exactly where she is, I think that could make her significantly weaker, which is not really what I want. I just wanted her to be more fair. But this top change, excellent. I really love this change. We'll just see how effective this whole dust thing is. These two changes aim to add more skill into playing as and against the spirit and reduce the reliance on both coin flips, where you make a guess and hope it pays off. That's a very good mindset that they're in right now. I just hope it didn't go a little too far. Additionally, we've done a pass on some of the Spirit's add-ons to bring them to more in line and make the lesser used add-ons more appealing, like the Trapper. Some of these changes are small tweaks, while others are complete new effects. I really like this one. So Wakajasi Saya now, during the time that you're phase walking, if you press Control or E, I forget which one it is for killer, I think it's Control. If you press Control, you go back to your husk immediately, kind of like that one Nerfs add-on where you go back to your starting position. So that add-on, even if you know exactly where she is, that add-on can fuck you up. It's like an on-demand hag teleport. This add-on, I think, is going to be extremely strong for people that stay in a loop instead of just straight up running away from it. This completely negates all of these weaknesses, like, immediately. But it's also a purple add-on, so. Next is Senko Hanabi. This is really interesting, too. When Yamoka's haunting ends, the spirit husk explodes, and any vault locations within 4 meters are blocked for 5 seconds. I could see this being very useful at things like long walls and shack, for example. Like shack, you run inside the center of shack, you stand in the middle of it, it blocks the window, now all you have to worry about is the pallet. I think that's actually a pretty well thought out and fun add-on. I'm curious to see exactly how effective it'll be. 4 meters is pretty short, but for things like shack, that could be really useful. So props to these. I think that's very clever design. Killer add-ons update. Finally, we're basically just getting numbers. You'll be able to see that considerably is actually only 2%, and that slightly is 8,000%. For whatever reason. So this is something people have been wanting for a very long time. Descriptive words were nice, very simple, but I think we are not dumb enough. We can handle numbers. We understand what 10% faster charge means. So I think seeing these numbers is it's been a long time coming change, and I'm very happy to see it. They also said they've adjusted a bunch of add-ons for all of these killers as they were going through and modifying these things. So we're just getting a ton of changes this patch, which is really, really cool. Changes focus mostly on unused add-ons, so there's a lot of unused add-ons, a lot of really shitty ones, and that is great. I wish they would do the same thing for perks. Like, this philosophy of going back and touching the mostly unused add-ons is excellent, and is something they should have been doing for years. If they could just apply this philosophy to, like, old perks now that are not seeing value when they update, you know, the considerably, moderately, things like that, for those, we can be in some really good shape. So that's really nice. These are some perks that are getting actual specific updates. Vigil, essentially just getting a 10% buff. Vigil's pretty underused. I kind of wished the change they made to Vigil was make it so you recover exhaustion while running. I think that would make it an actual competitive perk, in my opinion. Just increasing the percent by 10%, it's not going to change anything. It's nice, but no one's going to use it still, unless there's some, you know, temporary meme build where all 4 survivors are running it, and they just follow their teammate with sprint burst just to use sprint. I don't know. It's still not going to be meta, but I kind of wish they took the other route and made it recover exhaustion while running. But still good that they're addressing underused perks. Babysitter, they're making it so survivor now their speed boost for 4, 6, or 8 seconds in addition to not leaving scratch marks or pools of blood. That's okay. It's a decent buff. Sorry, I'm like slurring my words. I literally I woke up. I was like, spirit nerfs. YouTube. I rolled out of bed, so I'm sorry for slurring all my words here. For the people, can create some amazing moments, but the trade-off of being broken can make it very risky to justify using, decreasing the duration of broken status effect from 90 to 60 seconds. That's cool. For the people is not so much of a meta perk because you're just trading, right? But it's a pretty fun perk. I actually really enjoy using it, so I think that it's nice that they're buffing it in some way. Will it be meta though? No. Hex Retribution. Previously, Retribution only made survivors oblivious if they cleansed a dull totem. Now it'll just work with any totem, including Hex totems, which is really cool. and the aura reading duration once the hex is broken is now 15 seconds, which is a pretty sizable buff. So Retribution got a huge buff. Blood Favor, I kind of like this change. Basically, they're just removing the cooldown and making it work on special attacks as well. I like that they're doing that to this and the third seal, because a lot of the time they would be used on killers that basically never actually use their basic attack. So making it so it works on those killers now, I think, is just a nice straight upgrade for there's no real downside to it. Thrill the Hunt, they're making it so it now applies to boon totems as well. So we don't really know what this actually means yet. But we'll see when boon totems are a thing. And finally, in terms of development pipelines and things like that, they're adding a kill switch, which is basically they can disable a character while not doing a patch. So if there's a new game-breaking bug or something like that, they don't have to make a new patch or do an update. They just press a button, and then no one can play that character until they fix the issue. Now, the fix needs to come via a patch, but it'll make it so no one can use things, or no one can abuse broken things at the current time. And we'll have a situation where, like, it was the old Legion Men bug where people would abuse that and then get banned, and everyone was just upset. So I think that's a really good idea as well. I'm really hoping somehow hackers don't somehow find how to use this and just kill switch everything. It doesn't seem like that. It seems like a local thing they have to enable at their offices. So I can't imagine that could be abused in any way. But yeah, overall, this is an objectively very good patch. And I'm concerned.